Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this evening or this lunchtime if you're in the US for our See Me, Smell Me, Touch Me panel. And hopefully you can all see us and hear us. You're going to have to save or wait on the touching and smelling us, I'm afraid, for another time. But anyway, I wanted to bring this great panel together to basically talk about how it's my belief, and it has, I've become more and more convinced of this over the past couple of years, that multisensory experiences are really going to be the future of entertainment, as well as several other sectors, which some of the other panelists will touch upon. But I really came to this belief after starting to work in VR, and while working on my second 360 film, a film called The Journey. We not only recorded kind of audio visual information when we were filming The Journey in Africa, but we also recorded sensory data. And so when we then reconstructed a sort of physical installation of that VR piece, actually at South by Southwest 2018, we laid down kind of heated matting and local reed matting over that. And we reconstructed this Ethiopian igloo that one of our key characters lived in. And you could basically take off your shoes, walk into that space, sit down, put the VR headset on, and the sort of interior of that igloo was also lined with goat skin. So you really felt, it was a very DIY multisensory experience, but you really felt transported to that place to be with that character. And what we found was, even though it was quite DIY and quite rudimentary at that time, people were just kind of coming back to do the experience over and over again because it had this transportative effect. So when I was lucky enough to get sort of better funding to make my next interactive virtual reality piece, Fly, with the generous support of British Airways, I decided, there was a lot more we could do with this. And if the team could just play video clip 1 for me, I just wanted to show one of our team who is sort of demoing or helping develop the custom built motion platform that we made for Fly. Because with Fly, we wanted to turn you into this time traveling pilot from the time of sort of young Leonardo da Vinci through to becoming Wilbur Wright on the Wright Flyer on Kitty Hawk Beach, and eventually sort of plunging you into the unknown in one potential future of flight. But we didn't think you could have that experience of flight without actually feeling like you were flying, hence the motion platform. And if you could play the second video for me as well, please. You'll see this kind of egg-shaped installation that we built for Fly. And within that egg, we sort of hid certain multisensory apparatus, including kind of scent release and heat and wind. So that you could, in chapter 1, you're with a young Leonardo in the Tuscan countryside and you can feel the Tuscan sun on your face. And then when you're on Kitty Hawk Beach, you really feel the level of winds. They were sort of in their face that first day of flight. And so yeah, almost everybody we interviewed kind of coming off that experience, they were saying, we just couldn't believe how present we felt. And people were mentioning because they felt the winds, they smelt the environments. It just appeared to make such an incredible difference to those experiencing it, to really give a heightened sense of presence. Then, of course, COVID came, and there weren't going to be those kind of budgets in the immediate medium-term future to make sort of show-stopping VR exhibits. So I applied to the Story Futures Fellowship Program with an idea for a narrative AR game that was also going to be multisensory. And if you could play the third video clip, please, which just gives you a bit of a taster. So you play this game on your mobile phone, but we developed these little multisensory badges, if you can see that you just sort of pin on, but they have 4 little nozzles on them, and at different points in the narrative, they release scents to further immerse you in that moment of the narrative. So for example, we found the original recipe of Elizabeth I's perfume, and developed that so that when you enter her bedchambers, not only do you see and hear her, but you also smell her. But anyway, I could talk about these things all day, and we've got a lot of great talent on this panel to share their own experiences. So I'm going to hand off to Emma Maggioni, who understands the wonderful science behind these things and was the multisensory producer on Fly and many other experiences. So Emma, take it away.
Thank you, Charlotte. As you said, the power of having a multisensory experience is giving us a fully immersive experience, taking the audience traveling across time, as we have done with Fly. Storytelling creativity should not be limited to this audiovisual domain, as Charlotte said, but it should go beyond that. At OWIDGETS, in fact, our ambition is to provide accessible tools to enable the use of the sense of smell, particularly in its power as an interactive modality. As another example I'm presenting today, if we can play clip 1, please, is on a previous collaboration of a new reality on a piece called Tree. This piece was created to increase awareness on the deforestation issues. Is a beautiful orchestrated multisensory experience where smell is part of the storytelling narrative, together with haptic sensation with a sub-pack that is vibrating, thermal information and wind as well, that is impacting strongly the emotion of the audience. You become a tree, you are embodying the tree, and you feel the tree emotions. The experience creates empathy in the user. This is just one of the many multisensory experience possibility. And in our research group within UCL in the Department of Computer Science, we drive the future of multisensory interfaces. For instance, have you ever thought about taste as part of the entertainment experience? If we can play clip number 2, please. In this short video, you can see a demo of the Tasty Float. There is a prototype technology for a contactless food delivery technology using ultrasound. You can have a taste of a cheese or a drop of wine to have the full experience, and even having a coffee or having the taste of a burger, all in midair without any other tools. Of course, designing this kind of experience is just a basic prototype. Last year, we improved this version. We integrated light and smell as well to go much more beyond the simple experience of the taste. Because when we design experiences using all the senses, we can allow to create illusions, breaking down reality and recreating the reality towards new eating experiences, as in this case, or even going through personalization, where the user become active part of that. Of course, now that we are in this pandemic condition, more than ever, we need to have human connection, sharing emotions, sharing experiences. In this digital remote work, we are kind of locked in now. We need to provide then tech solution to allow that, to do that, taking in consideration, of course, all the current challenges and limitations, as Tom will present next, a tech solution that can support us for having even a contactless feeling of touch.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Emma. So as Emma said, I focus on the sense of touch, and touch is a really, really important sense for building trust. There's a study that suggests that if you watch the first game of the season of the NBA, the basketball in the US, and you count up the number of times the teams high-five each other, pat each other on the back, and sort of physically touch each other, you can use that to effectively predict the end-of-season league table, because you can see the teams that are more in tune and that are building this sense of trust between themselves through touch. So we focus on creating technology for the sense of touch to kind of build your trust with the experiences that you're having or the devices that you're interacting with. And at my company, ULTRALEAP, the technology we create is slightly oxymoronic. It enables you to feel touch without actually touching anything. So we project the sensation of touch through the air and directly onto your hands. And we're using this in a few different ways. So one, as we're coming out of this pandemic, we're sort of re-emerging into the world. We're going to go back and start using the public systems that we used to use to purchase your train tickets, to buy your food in restaurants, and we're enabling those systems to become touchless. So you can use them, you can interact with these kind of public touchscreens without actually having to physically touch the screen, without having to spread pathogens or bacteria that might be on the surface. Still with that sense of touch, so you're still connected to the system that you're using. You still get that feedback. So you have that trust in the system, and the aim there really is to give people the confidence to kind of get back out there and get back to normal. And then kind of going from the functional to the experiential, there are some amazing campaigns and experiences that, that this technology enables. And one of my favorites is the Rebuild the World campaign that Lego created, which enabled you to play with and build Lego blocks, where the display was on these massive screens in sort of shopping malls and city centers, so that it was really a communal experience where everybody can gather around and sort of watch what somebody's doing. And you can actually build the blocks and feel them with your hands in midair as you're interacting with them. And then when you get out of the public sphere into the personal sphere, looking at the likes of augmented reality and virtual reality, enabling people to connect across the planet, so through the internet. So you can have a call a bit like this, but maybe with a family member you haven't seen all year, and be able to reach out and actually touch their hands. This kind of like connection, this tactile connection, and we do this with sort of having like a device that you can sit on your desk in front of you, or attached to the displays if you're out in public, that projects through sound waves this feeling through the air and onto your hands, so you can experience it. And it creates a hugely emotional experience, and it's really engaging and connects you to something that might be distant, whether that's humans or content.
So talking about emotional connections, I think none of us would probably deny that one of the, a key one of the senses in this respect is obviously hearing, and although it has not, and music and sound, and although it has not been neglected, generally speaking, in entertainment, there's still really interesting new directions that sound is obviously being taken in more recently. And here to talk about that is Indy from AI Music. Indy, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's interesting hear everybody talk. So actually, we ran a survey a couple of years ago internally to understand what music means for us as individuals. And for me, one of the answers which resonated the most was when somebody said, music is my emotional companion. You can rely on music to be there when you're sad, when you're happy, in good times, in bad times. And ultimately, that's our philosophy as a business, and ultimately our North Star. So with the advent of machine learning and AI, what we're trying to do is shift how music is consumed from typically something which is much more static and passive, i.e. you open up your smartphone and you just listen to a playlist, to something which is a bit more dynamic and adaptive based on experiential and contextual drivers in the real world. And for me, I'm a big fitness fanatic, so the intersection of fitness and music was really apparent to me last year, and in particular during the COVID pandemic, as we saw a huge shift in workouts, on-demand fitness, group classes, and just a way to explore fitness and music with friends whilst we're all in isolation. I think for me personally, music is central and absolutely pivotal in any form of exercise I do. Whether I'm trying to push myself, I love listening to hip hop, whether I'm between sets or trying to kind of be very much chilled in a yoga class, I want to listen to something more ambient and relaxed. And with the advent of smart-led devices, actually, over the last 5 or so years, and also with on-demand platforms and applications coming to market, we saw that as a great opportunity for us to actually adapt music for a given workout. And so there's a range of ways in which we can do that. So as an example, let's imagine you have a high-end spin bike in your living room. Now, typically, a lot of these workouts are interval training workouts. So you can have a 45-minute workout, and almost every minute you're going nuts, and then you have a 30-second rest. In real time, what we can do is train our algorithms to key certain hit points based on time. So the instructor is not necessarily, pretending to be a DJ per se, or trying to figure out what song to play at the right time. It's effectively editing on demand, and it enables the end user, i.e. the person on the bike or the people on the bike, to resonate during the class more, as well as saving a lot of time and energy for the end instructor as well. We can actually take that a bit further, and like I was talking about sensory data and sensory information, what happens if you can adapt the BPM, adapt the tempo, increase or decrease the energy, and even all the way through to genre changes based on the intensity and power that you're kind of exerting on the bike. And we can preempt this because the core concept is, can music drive an emotional response for you either to increase your performance or intentionally decrease your performance?
It's totally fascinating. It's blowing my mind. While we wait for a few questions to get channeled into my chat box here, I've got a couple of questions. So I'm really curious about what you're saying there. And I guess there's a little bit of that kind of, you know, there's always going to be that little bit of fear with new ideas, and this idea of music that listens to you, as to how much it then becomes a kind of sounding box where you only ever get what you've been listening to, you know, and then the sort of exploration of new unexpected genres might reduce. Is there sort of a built-in fail-safe to that, so that you're not necessarily then ending up always getting the same thing that you liked for a period?
Yeah, it's almost like this 80-20 rule. So 80% of the time you listen to the music that you love, right? And the rest of the 20% is something which is injected, which is slightly new. So you have the ability to explore. And again, this is based on personal preference data.
Oh, I lost you. I think we lost Indy. Did we lose Indy? What a shame. Meanwhile, I'm actually going to scan the chat for questions myself, because they don't seem to be coming in where they're supposed to. So let me see if there are questions here that we haven't yet answered. I saw one from somebody, I think that was to our panel, saying how do the senses, how do sort of multisensory experiences build empathy? Is that one that you want to take, Emma?
Yeah, sure. So why this is happening? Because when we use even just the sense of smell, we can impact our emotional part of the brain, and is creating this feel of connection, what you're doing. And the example I was bringing in was a tree. So you're a tropical tree. You can feel the emotion of a tropical tree, even though it's not a human. This is a kind of bridge of emotion you can create. You can feel empathy. And all this project was done with the purpose of create sensibilization towards this topic. So I think was meeting perfectly their ambition. So it's all about like creating well-structured, emotionally enhanced experiences that you can do it through all the senses, or even just focalize on some of them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I don't come from the scientific angle on this. Emma's the psychologist and engineer, but in a little bit of my own research that I've done, it seems to be that scent, certainly in terms of scent, the connection to the limbic part of the brain, the part forming memory, is more direct than with the other senses and their connection to that same memory forming part of the brain. So you sort of get the sense of presence is really a sense of, you know, current memories being formed. And obviously all our real memories are formed very much in a multisensory fashion, not all via all the senses, but often by more than one. And so it's really kind of introducing that to in my case, your entertainment, but, you know, other people's cases, your workout, and well, I suppose that is a form of entertainment. There was a question that I saw, which I guess is probably one for Tom or Emma. And it wasn't so much a question, I suppose, as a comment, but I was curious to see if people had anything to say. You know, Stan was saying it feels pretty strange to be talking about touch after a year of trying very hard not to touch anything or anyone, and then immediately dousing yourself in a ton of sanitizer. And I don't know, but that sort of got me thinking about sort of what you were saying, Tom. I mean, obviously what you guys have designed is great in the sense that you feel the touch, but it's contactless, so you don't have the risk. But just out of curiosity, you know, how much of that sort of trust forming aspect that you were talking about of touch comes actually from also the sense of you know, the heat of someone else's skin and those other aspects that you maybe can't get just, I mean, I can understand the tactile sensation comes from the air, but is there a limitation in terms of not being able to get, you know, really that sort of sense of moisture and warmth from another person's skin, I wonder?
Yeah, absolutely. I think recreating of all touch and tactile feedback, recreating texture is sort of like the pinnacle of difficulty. That's the bit that's really, really hard to do, particularly because our perception of texture and your sort of memory of it is often augmented in a similar way to with sound in movies, you'd have a Foley artist that would create a sound that kind of sounds like more exaggerated than the sound in real life. That's kind of your expectation with touch as well. So if you're going to try and recreate like a wholly, completely believable feeling of another human's skin, then you're going to need the warmth, you're going to need the softness, you're going to need the compliance. And we can't do all of those, but we can create that connection, that feeling that something else is there, it moves in a natural, organic way, so it feels alive, it feels human, even if it's not quite a perfect recreation of feeling somebody's hand, for example.
I can add on that is exactly what you were mentioning, is having the prior of your experience of touching a human, then can be compensated with visual as well, or sound. It's just creating a reconstruction of the reality.
Mm. Do you think there will come a point when actually what we're doing is not necessarily there's another question just come in, so maybe I should ask that rather than my own. So I was being asked here, is there a good example of a brand that has tapped into the senses when marketing? I'm sure there are lots of examples. Does anybody want to jump in with one there? Or not?
I think there's a lot of like experiences that have been created. I mentioned the Lego one. There are a number of multisensory ones, but then almost the ones that jump into the senses that resonate. Things like Intel, where you get that catchy jingle, dun, which you always remember, and it kind of throws you back into that scenario, so that when you're in a shop, you kind of get it recalled. And I've seen a number of really interesting discussions about trying to create those similar kind of trademarks, but for other senses. Certainly it exists for smell, but not so much touch yet. There aren't many people who have like a trademarked feel or a trademark touch.
I feel like until now, maybe the sort of theme park companies, the Universal Studios of this world and such, have clearly been the kind of, the geniuses of multisensory. And sometimes they've been too gimmicky, but in the more modern stuff, I took my kids to Universal Studios in Florida, and I mean, my mind was completely and utterly blown by actually the level to which they'd now got some of those multisensory experiences compared to what we sort of remember as kids. It was a whole lot different. But sorry, Emma, I think you were going to say something. Were you there? And I jumped in.
No. I was just saying, like, for instance, smell. There are like logo brands, so they're using smell to recognize a logo or a company, and they can use it in shops. But it's much more part of the overall experience, and I think this is just the beginning of offering experiences to remember the brand and to enhance the relationship with the brand.
Definitely. I saw these great trainers. I don't know if anyone's seen them, and they're a bit like sub packs, but they're built into the sole of the shoe. And so I think they're sort of connected via your headphone, right? Via your headphones to your trainers. And so you're sort of feeling the music come up from the bottom as well as, into your head. Does anyone else see those? They looked pretty cool.
Yeah, I think they're pretty awesome. Actually, it'd be super cool to be able to have those connect to nearby experiences as you walk around, and like if you walk past a movie poster or something, and you could kind of get a more immersive experience of things out in the public, would be pretty awesome. But I think it's just music for now.
Yeah, no, that would be great. So I don't have any other questions right now. Does anyone have anything that they want to ask each other? I think we've got 1 minute left. I'll just do a quick scan to see that I didn't miss anything again. Sorry for my double screening. No, I think we've answered everything. I hope I've answered everything. Yeah, so I guess I had one last thing. I'm not sure we've got enough time to discuss it, but I was fascinated, Indy, by this AI music idea. As a creator, how do you, because you spend so long getting the music right when you're creating something, how does that work? Like, can you answer that in 30 seconds? Like, how can a creator create music for their piece if actually it's got to be music that suits you? Like, how's that done?
Well, I mean, from a positional sense, we're an enabler of human creativity. Ultimately, we provide tools for a human and a creator. So the tools imply here that we can take a body of work, but create several permutations of that for different contexts and different use cases. So imagine, let's say I'm a producer, why not use AI and AI music for particular music and gaming? And straight off the bat in fitness and also in VR. And then you've got a huge repository of content which can be used at scale for different contexts.
Brilliant. I'm not sure if I fully get it still, but we can have an offline conversation so that I do, so I'm fully clued in. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. It was a real pleasure. And I hope that people watching, listening, got something out of this. Yeah, and see you next time. We're out.